You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
My first year here, especially having some type of stable income and extensive income, is that it's always going to be there. You're not going to miss anything.
Yeah.
That 365 days that you sit down, and that summer that you miss, that spring break that you miss, that Valentine's Day that you miss, that New Year's that you miss, when you're sitting in the house and working, it may seem like it may hurt, but when you're 25, 26, 27, and I'm looking at the people in my circle that are like, oh man, I got to figure this out, or oh man, I got to go to work, or oh shit, man, I don't know how I'm going to pay this weekend. Like, yo, bro, can you front me this? Can you help me with this? You was the same person that when spring break came around, you wanted to go to Pensacola, and I stayed home. You just got to lock in.
Welcome to another episode of Tech is the New Black, your source to discover experts in the technology space, to give you exclusive insight and secrets to help you break into tech, scale in this industry, and maybe even start your own billion-dollar tech startup. And today, y'all, we have an amazing guest. Not even just an amazing guest, we have a special guest, because this guest is actually a neighbor of mine. The way we met was actually really crazy. Was coming back from a really nice date with my boo, my bae, and stumbled on him in the lobby, and this man was working. Not just doing any kind of work, but was doing some really cool exclusive work. And so right from the start of us meeting and me seeing what he was working on, me seeing what he was about, and then also getting to know him furthermore beyond that, I was like, yo, man, I have to get this guy on the platform to educate my audience on some of the really cool things he's doing that's pretty unique from the rest of our other guests. But anyway, y'all, I want y'all to meet my guest, Tori. Bro, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good, man, bro. I'm so hyped to have you.
I'm hyped to be in here, man.
Yeah, man. Y'all, man, this is going to be really special. Really want to make sure y'all are paying attention to a lot of the gems. He's going to be dropping a lot of the insights. So just kind of go through his bio and things like that so y'all know who he is. So Tori Porter is a non-conventional real estate investor that owns 30 plus doors and has scaled other seven-figure month businesses in the retail and e-commerce space. With over 80 plus million raised and 18 million advised, he's shown others how to master the art of active and passive income. Tori has recently launched and grown a fintech startup that is currently valued at 15 million and is disrupting the market in doing so. Bro, so we got to get into it. Let's jump straight into it.
Let's go into it.
All right, so do you work in tech?
I don't.
Okay, cool. Did you go to school for tech, get a degree in anything in tech?
No, I mean, I went to school for aviation.
Okay. All right. Do you know how to code or do any of that techie stuff?
Not at all.
All right, bro. So all right, so you don't work in tech, you didn't go to school for it, and you don't code, but you own a tech startup.
Right. And it's crazy when I was telling you last time how I even got here in tech. But no, none of my stuff, my journey in the beginning was directly tech related whatsoever.
Yeah. So how did you, like, just tell us your story. Like, what led you into your business and things that took off that allowed you to kind of like grow and scale your income, grow and scale your other businesses, and just kind of breadcrumbs your way all the way into having your own tech startup?
Man, since college, I've always been interested in sneakers. So
yeah.
I had a sneaker store. I was selling eBay. At the time, we didn't have OfferUp and Let Go. It was Craigslist, eBay.
Mm-hmm.
Selling eBay, ended up learning about Shopify, started putting stuff on Shopify.
Yeah.
Learned how to drop ship. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to sell the people sneakers if I can find deals and then make, 10, 20 bucks, 30, 40 bucks from there. Man, ended up building and scaling my site. Ended up selling my site for about $1.2 million.
Whoa, wait, hold up. Wait, all right. So we got to connect somewhere because I'm hearing the numbers, and I'm sure everybody watching, listening, y'all hearing the numbers too. So I'm hearing you saying selling something for $30, this $50. And then we get to 1.2 mil.
So I originally would just go stand in line at Foot Locker, finish line. I would hustle and bustle online and find people like, hey, if you got a pair of Kith sneakers, or you have a pair of off-white sneakers, or a pair of, retro Air Jordan 1s, I would say, okay, well, you have these shoes for $300-$400, and they're reselling right now at $600-$700. I buy them from you, I resell them, I send them to Flight Club, I put them on eBay, I'd auction them off, I put them on Craigslist, and I do a meetup. And then I started getting a little bit more smarter. I started going to those other third-party sites and saying, well, hey, instead of me just spending my money to buy them outright, if you're already selling the shoes for $500 and they're reselling for $800, I'll just middleman the shoe. So, I mean, in a sense, and then as I started growing, and this was 2 years pre-pandemic, 2 years before the pandemic, and sneakers has always been a popular industry for everyone. I mean, like, you got on, some fire Air Max right now. So, it's like everybody loves sneakers. Sneakers
they're not like your shoes, though.
Everybody appreciate it.
Fire.
So it's like, when I looked at that and the value of sneakers, I've always been a sneakerhead. You have those hype beasts that just care about the popular. I love all kinds of sneakers, from the Adidas Shell Toe all the way up to the Red October, Air Yeezy. But anywho, I started learning more about systems, and I met Christiana. I introduced you to her recently. Met Christiana off Snapchat. She ended up DMing me and was like, yo, like, you're smart. You're smart as hell. Like, I should get you out here.
It's cool. You can cuss on here.
Oh yeah, she was like, you smart as shit.
We Christians, but this ain't a Christian. This ain't a Christian show.
She was like, she was like, you smart as shit. So she was like, she flew me out to Orlando. She brought me out to Orlando, and honestly, that was like the peak of my entrepreneurship journey. I was working at Family Dollar and Walmart at the time. Man. So I was a store manager at Family Dollar on Sycamore View Road, and I worked at the Walmart right off of, not Austin P, Winchester Road. I was working at the Walmart on Winchester Road. I was working 2 jobs. Yeah. I was sleeping on the floor. I was staying with 2 of my other homeboys. So, I mean, man, and it's like, for me to see her, like, she had this huge townhouse in Lake Mary, huge. Yeah. She probably not gonna want me to tell them about this.
She low-key, something about her screams luxury. Maybe it's her social media.
Oh, boy. Bougie.
But bro, no, let's keep it a stack, though. When I first met you, like, that's the same thing. That's the same. I didn't get bougie, but when I saw your social media, I said, yo, this dude living life. I said, this man out here living.
With a lot of hard work, though.
I mean, definitely. Like, again, we met, you were working, and then I saw glimpses of the fruit of your labor. So I was like, okay, this dude's working and he's living life. I think that's super fire. It's actually really crazy hearing these things. Like, this is my first time hearing this. It's wild, like, knowing you to the degree that I know you now and seeing the way you move, and obviously, like, where we live, but even beyond where we live, like, just some of the places I see you at and the moves I see you making, and to hear that you were working at, you said Walmart and Family Dollar.
I was working at Walmart on Winchester Road and the Family Dollar on Sycamore View, and then it was the day, this is a kicker though, I would overwork and I would do doubles. It was the day that I got fired. I remember calling my mom. I was like, I got fired. At the time, I had oh my gosh, I had a Challenger that probably barely could crank up at the time, man. I had a car that was beat up. It looked nice, but it was beat up. And I remember calling my mom. I was like, I got fired. And my mom at the time was working at Family Dollar too. She was a manager. So it was just a simple fact. Like, I realized right then and there, it's like, this can't be the journey I want to live. Like, living the Monday to Friday cycle, enjoying my payday on Saturday. Sunday, I sleep all day because I've been working the whole week. And then,
what did you see? Like, was there someone, or something, like, what? Was there something you saw that, like, sparked something in your head to make you
Chris would never know this, but it took when I went to Florida and realized that I have someone near the same age as me that is, and she comes from a structured home, and the fact that she comes from a structured home, she'll tell you, like, hey, I have a silver spoon, I've had this, but I didn't want to use any of my dad's money. So to watch someone that comes from $1 million family and then separate themselves from that and still go through the same struggles of homelessness, eviction, loss of funds, and I'm like, like, damn, like, it's realistic. And it took for me to say, like, damn, like, I can actually make it out of this. And the fear of going back to a homeless shelter, the fear of Section 8 again, the fear of, like, I don't even got $20 to put in my gas tank today. How I'm gonna make it up the street, So that was the epiphany that woke me up. And then the simple fact that also, like, my mom may not like me saying this, but, like, me and my mom are working at Family Dollar. My mom has 2 degrees. My mom is now getting her doctorates. My mom has never owned a home. My mom has always worked a job. And I looked at that and to say, for me to be 21 years old, to be sitting in the same position as someone who's near 50 and they've worked their whole lives, I realized right then and there, it's time for me to figure something out. Yeah. So that's where I came into the journey of like entrepreneurship, and Chris took me out and she started teaching me all these systems. And I took those systems and implemented them into an online store. Because like I said, at the time, I was just eBay. Everyone that went to MTSU with me knew I was an eBay junkie. I would sell everything on eBay. I'll sell your joggers on eBay if I can make money off the joggers, you know, anything that would bring profit. And then I built those systems, scaled those systems out. And I did that for about 2 more years, and I ended up scaling. I ended up growing. Got my first mortgage. Felt amazing. If you're in Memphis, you got Front Street and Second Street. I got to stay on Second Street. Yeah. Beautiful loft, beautiful condo style loft style condo. And then the pandemic came out of nowhere. Yeah. And man, I remember being on the phone with my previous partner in San Diego, and it's crazy now because it sounds crazy saying this. I was like, I only have $100,000 set up my name. I don't know what I'm going to do. And when I look back at that now, it's like, it's crazy because it's like, not to say in like a boastful way, but I'm like, oh shit, like $100,000. Like I can make that in a month if I wanted to go back into e-commerce. I can make that in 2 weeks. And it's like, but then it was like, I remember on the phone with my partner, it's like, I had never seen 20K before. Yeah. I had my dream car at the time. I had my Trackhawk. I had my loft. I had my 100K. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I was literally at a standstill. I couldn't scale my store any faster. Yeah. The world was frozen. No one was traveling. And it was like 90 days of terror.
You know what's wild? And I don't want to go too off on a tangent with this. I love where you're going. But what's wild is hearing you say, like just a few minutes ago, you're talking about, you know, you sleeping on the floor, you know, you working at Walmart and Family Dollar or Dollar Tree. And here you talk about, okay, the pandemic hit and how you're like, man, all I got is just 100,000 to my name. Right. And I know like some people listening are like, why in the world would that be such a fearful thing? Just 100,000 to your name. But one of the things I was talking to my homeboy Eric, who's the videographer, we were talking about yesterday is how when you're broke, like when you're straight up broke, like your thought process is just survival. It's like, okay, well, how can I pay my bills? But it's like when you get to the level that you were at, you're beyond that level now. But what you're talking about, when you get to the level that you were at, now you no longer see money as, okay, 100,000 isn't enough to pay my bills. It is enough to pay your bills, right. But you're thinking, okay, this might not be enough to invest and support into other things so I can grow and scale. Yes. So I just want to stop there because I think some people will hear it and they're like, well, why is that such a tragedy? He had 100,000 to his name. And it's like, well, you don't realize when you have so many wheels spinning, like the wheels you had spinning, and when you're thinking bigger, you're thinking greater. The next step. Your stress is no longer, do I have enough to eat? Your stress becomes, how can I stretch this to pour this into the next thing? How can I pay my employees? How am I going to cover my ad budget? How am I going to cover my overhead? How am I going to distribute over into this next program? So how am I even going to travel, you know? Yeah. So those are all the things. But like, so I don't go on a tangent. Those are some of the things that I kind of went forward. So fast forward through that, I hear a lot of people say, oh, pandemic millionaires or pandemic ballers. Bro, the pandemic, if you didn't know what to do, if you didn't know how to properly take the opportunity that came from this, I myself didn't get any of those government programs. I just didn't qualify for them at the time, but the amount of capital that was out there, like, it was crazy. I was selling so many shoes. Like I was selling other people's shoes 2 to 3 times over what they were worth. It's just people just wanted to spend money. Wow. But no, fast forward from there, I ended up learning about Flippa. Christiana introduced me to Flippa, FLIPPA.com. And I got a valuation for my website. Shout out to Flippa, the sponsor for this episode. No, I'm just playing. Shout out to Flippa, but I ain't wasn't paid. But yeah, Flippa, man, I ended up putting my website on there. You can see it. It's in my highlights. My website was valued around $2 million. I got a real valuation around 1.2. Crazy. And then I was like, Chris was like, you can sell the website. I'm like, nobody's going to pay that much money for a website. Guy was like, yo, I got a proof for an SBA loan. I want your website. Can you provide the proof of traffic? Can you give me bank statements? Gave him everything, tax filings, all of that. He's like, okay. And then like after, you know, Uncle Sam and whatnot, I went home with like around $800,000. Man, that's nice. And then I took that money and got into real estate. I don't even, till this day, I'm still surprised how I got in there. And like the story I was telling your partner earlier is like, you know, I had a guy who was watching my story every day. He was like, yo, like you're smart. And I was trying to build an app at the time. I didn't even know. And I guess that was my light introduction to tech, but I still had never crossed paths directly into like a solid technical infrastructure of understanding what tech is. And then from there, I mean, he introduced me into a commercial wholesaling deal, and I ended up doing the wholesaling deal. It went productively, made $30K. It was the easiest $30K I ever made. I mean, of course, my Shopify store was an easy $30K. Well, no, that was easy. It was like a simple phone call, a follow-up, some T12, some financials, and the guy was like, I won it, and I put my assignment on it. Yeah. And I started learning more non-conventional systems from a wholesaling because wholesaling was just so predatory. So I created my own system, which is mediation financing. I was teaching people how to find people who couldn't afford to fix their houses up, how to find the investor, fixing the house up on a draw system. Once the house is complete,
we financed the house into the mediator's name, which is the person that's middlemaning the deal.
Yeah.
The homeowner gets a profit, and their property is sold, and the investor gets their money back too. And they kind of got me there. So,
man,
boom.
Dude, that's a crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess this whole window of time from now your lending software and from when you had first started everything, like basically from when you got fired. Like, when did you get fired up till now?
I was 20 years old. I lost my job at 20. 19. I'm a system baby. I was in the system 16 to 18, 18 to 19. 19 I got my first official job, and 20 is when I started. 19 I started working at Family Dollar and Walmart. And
are you talking your age,
fired.
or are you talking like 2019? Like,
oh no, age wise. So
okay.
what would that be? It's 2022 was.
How old are you now?
25 now. It was 5 years ago.
That's crazy.
Whatever that
you know
is.
what's wild? I didn't even know. Like you look your age, like you look 25, but just when we met, and I'm sure you get this a lot, and I'm sure even people that are listening and watching are like 25, because like just the way you talk, the way you move, the things you've done, it's like you wouldn't think like, oh, dude, 25 making all these moves.
Everybody's act like an old man.
Yeah, hey man, no, you just, man, you're focused, dude. Like, you're straight up focused. I think what's crazy is many people had some of the experiences that you had, and many people had some of the dreams, but you seem like somebody where instead of you kind of like lollygagging and wasting a whole bunch of time in between, some people will work on some stuff and they'll take like a long break, work on some stuff, and then they might be where you're at in 15 or 20 years, but you just seem like you condensed all of that time and just got to business.
Yeah, I sat down. I just felt like coming from Memphis, man, like everybody, it's like I talk like I'm white. I've heard that a million times, but speaking with sense, it's just simple things like code switching, like talking off camera versus talking on camera.
Yeah.
And then, where I'm from is like already how I carry myself. I was already against the norm because of how I dress, how I carry myself. I ain't tall enough to play basketball. I ain't big enough to play football. So it's like sports, and I don't want to be no rapper. So it's like that's the only way. And it's like I was destined and determined to prove like there has to be a way to make money and live a lifestyle you want to live to whatever means there may be or to whatever extension there may be, and without having to be a NBA player, NFL player, or in the league, some AAU, sports related, entertainment related, music related. So that's what kind of also allowed me to go hard. What
advice, and usually we save this for the end, but I want to ask this now because this isn't even in my notes. What tips or advice would you give for someone who has big dreams, big goals, and plans, but they procrastinate a lot, or they take long breaks, or they get distracted very easily?
I think FOMO, fear of missing out, is the biggest thing. Me coming from nothing, and just to be transparent, like me coming from nothing, so I don't sway too far off, but me coming from nothing and not having a single thing, I literally upped and packed my things and just came to Atlanta off a whim. And I came for a relationship, but I upped and just came to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And coming from an environment where you can have a brand new 22 Camry and live in a 1-bedroom apartment and wear Aeropostale every day, like, okay, well, that guy got it together. He doing good. And I come to Atlanta and it's like Ferraris, Lambos, this guy driving this guy carrying this stuff. I'm seeing 19, 20-year-olds. So it was the influence, and I feel like I had that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So I think the advice that I would give to a lot of people, my first year here, especially having some type of stable income and extensive income, is that it's always going to be there. You're not going to miss anything.
Yeah.
That 365 days that you sit down, and that summer that you missed, that spring break that you missed, that Valentine's Day that you missed, that New Year's that you missed when you're sitting in the house and working, it may seem like it may hurt, but when you're 25, 26, 27, and I'm looking at the people in my circle that are like, oh man, I got to figure this out, or oh man, I got to go to work, or oh shit, man, I don't know how I'm going to pay this weekend. Like, yo, bro, can you front me this? Can you help me with this? Can I use your car? This, like, can you crank me up? Like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, oh, can you add me to as a user on your card? No, I can't. Yeah. You was the same person that when spring break came around, you wanted to go to Pensacola and I stayed home, or you want to go to Miami. So I think to just simply answer the question, it's like, you just got to lock in, like just stay focused and trust the process. And I've had times, even now, and it's like, people don't understand. And even hearing your story, like from homelessness to 100K, now 300K. Like I was just watching your stuff. It was just 100K. I was like, shit. Yeah. Now it's 300. And then soon it'll be 800.
It's actually,
then it'll be 2 million.
It's actually a lot more than 300. I feel weird to keep changing the numbers. So
but I think that is important because it shows that progress. And I don't think,
you might be right. Yeah.
People look at it and they go like, oh, you got this and you got that. But it's like the stressors may be different, but they're just as extensive. And the problems become different. Like, yeah, you can call them wealthy problems, rich problems, but they're still problems.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people need to understand like where they want to go, and then a journey without a plan is just a dream, and I'm strict by that.
I love what you said about the FOMO, because I think that's one of the things that I've noticed I've been dealing with lately. Like, it's the FOMO of, because I'm a huge believer that whatever it is that we do, whatever it is that you do, like, God wanted you to do the things you're doing. God wanted me to do the things that I'm doing. And it's like, but God wants that thing to happen irregardless of if I do it or if you do it.
Right.
Like, he wants you to do it, but it's one of the things where it's like, all right, if I take too long, God's gonna give it to somebody. Like, all right, you do it then, because because
the opportunity's present.
Chilling. And so that's how I think now when it comes to that FOMO, where it's like, okay, I have this idea, there's something I want to do, but if I chill out too long, if I take too much time, if I kind of am shuffling my feet for too long, somebody else gonna do it.
And then also opportunity costs. You just touched on the next thing I was gonna speak on. Opportunity cost is very important. It's kind of like what I was telling my close friend the other day. Like, she put a certain amount of money into an investment, $5,000-$6,000. The investment didn't go well. Focusing on that one thing, or being depressed about that one thing, or saying, oh my gosh, like, I lost this money, I don't want to work today, I don't want to get up today, like, oh my gosh, I can't even pay my rent now, I should have just paid my rent. Or even just paying bills. Like, I never understood the process of, I've always been that way, like, bills are always going to be there.
Yeah.
The first, it's due on the 1st, and it's late by the 4th. They don't even give us the 5th here. It's late by the 4th. You don't even get the extra day here. And it's late. But at the end of the day, the next month is going to come. The next month is going to come. So when you're constantly putting that stress and that energy into something that's always going to be predetermined for you, instead of putting it into something else. And I go back to this friend that put this money into this negative investment, and it's been 90 days near now. And the amount of time you've put into focusing on $5,000, you could have missed out on 50, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000, $1 million. So I think opportunity costs, fear missing out, and then also understanding opportunity costs. So there's a difference between money and currency. Right now, you're giving me a form of currency, which is your time, which is exposure, which is resources, meeting the amazing people on your team. That is currency. Those things are interchangeable. Money is just fiat. It's reproducible. It's always there.
Yeah.
But certain currencies aren't reproducible.
That's true.
So I think people need to understand opportunity costs and the value of money over currency. If you can understand the value of your time, the value of your opportunity, the value of your resources over money, money's going to follow after that. As long as you trust the process and you're good at what you do.
That's good. That's good, man. So, bro, so you've killed it in a few different areas, a few different industries. But I mean, you're making money in these different industries. Why launch a tech startup?
I didn't even, man, when I tell you, okay, so to go back to sneakers, I used to buy a lot. But I never did bots. I'm not going to lie, I just paid somebody to do it.
So what is bot a lot?
Okay, Nike and Adidas.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the audience knows. I don't know.
Don't come for me.
A lot?
So for educational purposes.
Just educational purposes.
For educational purposes.
It's just an example.
An example. For fun.
Not real life.
At all.
Nobody's done this for real.
So when a guy, John Doe wants to get a certain release, and John Doe wants multiple of those releases, and John Doe doesn't want to sit online. John Doe builds out a system of, which is what's funny now, because now I know what they are, of cookies, caches, servers, and botting systems. And these bots automatically apply under different names, under different aliases, but for the same address. So John Doe is able to get a limited sneaker that only one of every 10 people may get. He's all 10 people. And he takes all of them, and he drains the market, because now they're able to take the large monopoly or foothold or real estate of that specific sneaker, of that specific release, or even clothing piece, and take that and resell it for more than what it's worth.
Yeah, because now supply and demand. Now there's less supply.
They've restricted the supply, so the demand is extremely high. So they're going to pay retail $120, $130, and then they're going to resell it. You know, like my sweater is a Cactus Plant flea market. Like, they probably say I don't remember the number of releases, but like this one was a limited hoodie. Now it resells for like $2,000 to $3,000, and you have that guy who buys it at retail. John Doe got this for me at retail.
Y'all, for those of y'all who are listening and not watching, y'all need to watch just to check out his drip. This man really came with it, but Eric not like this nigga drip. He dripping. But go ahead.
Thank you. So you get the items and you resell. But to go back to the question, I was pretty understanding of how bots work. And I had my previous business partner in San Diego. Well, at the time, I was really heavy on real estate. E-commerce was a thing of the past. I'd already sold my website. I tried the mentorship stuff, but it's just like I just didn't feel And then it just be also transparent. Like, I wasn't the best with my mentorships program starting off because I had to learn. I had never educated people. So it's like I was fumbling, I was dropping the ball, I was misleading people because I was expecting them to have the same exact results as me. And it's like I started getting this backlash. And I'm like, you know what? Mentoring for e-commerce, going back to it now, I've been killing it. But like looking back then, it was new to me. So I left that alone and I focused solely on real estate because it was something that was in my control. And that is something that if I tell you to do it exactly A, B, and C, and you do A, B, and C, you can be just as successful as me. Versus e-commerce is like, it's give and take. You can do the same exact product, the same exact marketing, the same exact branding, and your audience may just not feel it.
Man.
So I focused on real estate, and my other business partner was in the lending space. So I would send him clients to get gap funding. And gap funding is like if they get approved for a real estate deal or approved for a project for educational purposes also, because the banks don't like this. He would get American Expresses and Citibanks and the Goldman Sachs, and then that would cover the down payment on the home. As long as the loan made sense and the interest and the points. And then they would then in tune secure their first property so they can build that relationship. The issue he was having was he was always on the phone. It's always on the phone with clients that weren't qualifiable. So I'm like, well, why don't we just use I put logic in all of my forms when clients fill it out, just so I'm not wasting my time. Put in the deal, input the numbers, put in the ARV, and then I have the API with my property lead source, and if the deal doesn't make sense, they're automatically like denied. So I was like, well, why don't we use the same logic when it comes to lending? Then he said the next issue is like, well, bro, if I fund them and I get them this card, and I go the second time and I get them this card, this loan, this line of credit, and I get them this. He's like, I don't know how to scale it. So anywho, I was like, well, why don't we use those bots and those systems that I use with the sneakers to complete the funding? And of course, for my patent purposes, my proprietariness, I can't go super deep into it, but I took some of those systems and put it into the software, and then it went from some type of in-house crappy system on MongoDB to like a fully stacked, expanded technical infrastructure that we use for like all of our clients now. So that's what got me into the tech space. And I started learning more and more and more about tech. I knew I had to figure out how to do interviews. What is the difference between Python and JSON
C++ and Java.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell is a JavaScript? HTML and JavaScript. I don't know how to read a JavaScript. He's sending me crap and notes, and it's all skewed to the side
like you watching the Matrix.
I'm like, what is this? So yeah, that's what got me into my introduction into tech.
Bro, that's crazy. So what has it been like for you in this space? And again, you're seeing it from a different angle than most people do, because most people enter into tech through either school or a boot camp, and then they work at a company. Even most people that even end up starting startups, they enter into it through that way. So what's different as a business owner, a serial business owner? What's the difference from the tech startup versus other things?
I think as far as how I enter,
as far as like just the differences, as far as like any issues like with like law or like if
gosh, like just compliances, PCI, PII, CCPA, ADA, 23 NYCRR 500, GDPR, NYCPA, like
man.
SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, SOC 5, not SOC 3, SOC 5.
What is all this?
These are all the legal compliances you have to have when you're retaining data, when you're holding credit cards, when you're processing specific information, when you're operating within a specific state, when you're dealing with consumer lending products, when you're dealing with corporate lending products. Yeah. The legalese that I went through, like, oh my gosh, if I could do a legal podcast alone, like I feel like I am a tech attorney at this point.
It sounds like that.
Because there's so many things that you have to figure out when it comes to actually making sure you're not crossing any blurred lines or doing anything wrong. And even the patent, because we just got our provisional patent, even filing the patent and constantly sending it to the USPTO, they're sending it back out, sending it back, spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to prove that our software is original in its nature.
There's I used to work at a car wash, and at this car wash, it was a car wash in the hood. It's off Campbellton Road. And this is when I was, broke. I think I was getting like, he was paying everybody cash, and I think I was getting like $40 a day. It was a very low point in my life. But I remember I was talking to the owner of the car wash, and I was like, yo, like, how come you aren't on Google? And how come you aren't doing this and doing that? And he was like, oh, I'll run into all these complications. I'll have to, once I'm on Google, then, the government will see me, the way he was kind of talking halfway ignorant, but at the same time, he was making some sense. And I remember thinking like, well, and I thought this in my own head. I was like, man, you could scale. Like, yeah, it'll cost you money it'll cost you a lot of headaches. But dude, when it's all said and done, you could be 10 times, 20 times bigger than what you are now.
Exactly.
But it was interesting to see how, because he didn't want to do that extra work, those headaches, he was fine with just staying where he was at. So I'm curious to know, like, okay, you're good. Like, you're good without the tech startup. All the headaches and stuff that you're going through or that you're facing, the legal woes and everything else, like, why are you still like going for it?
I guess business is my passion. It's funny because everybody tells me, like, why are you always working? You should take a break. What do you do to clear your mind? I'm like, build a system, go build a website, go start a business. Like now I'm in, like, I started a tax company because it's like, okay, it's something I understood, I could comprehend it pretty well.
Yeah.
Now I want to mediate insurance and taxes without having to do any work, and I'll have the package that I have now. But no, man, business is fun to me. Business is something that I like to focus on. Business is something that makes me feel like I can build something, and this is my baby, and I can grow this baby, and I can build this baby into an adult that can teach others how to take care of their babies in a sense. But I don't know. And then I also look at the realism of, like, how easy it is to actually become a billionaire or a multimillionaire. Like, filing my taxes my first year, I took home $200,000. Filing my taxes the following year, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, give or take. Following the following year after that, 2.2. Uncle Sam, I ain't gonna talk about this year, but the fact that I was able to constantly see those gradual increases, I'm like, okay, well, what will 10 million look like? Now that's not all in pocket, so I'm not gonna act like that's just like what's in my like liquid. But
still,
the fact that I was able to earn that and see on paper, like, I did this was possible.
That's
so
amazing.
it's like, what does 100 million look like, and what does the access with the $100 million look like? And going back to currency, what rooms can that type of money put me in?
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not liquid capital, it's not the money, it's the earnings and the process, and trusting the process of those. What things will I have to go through to actually understand that? And I think about a guy like Jeff Bezos, like, who starts a book company, and then he steps over into retail. Then he steps over into logistics. Then he steps over to music, pharmacy, and then he buys Whole Foods, and now he's in the groceries. You know. Yeah. So I think about that. And I think about, like, Elon Musk. He starts PayPal, sells PayPal, steps into automotive. I think that what I've learned, or Richard Branson, or like what's his face that started Virgin Air? Is that Richard Branson?
Yeah, Richard Branson. Yeah.
Like the fact that one day he's just walking down an aisle and he's not satisfied with his experience. Yeah. So he just starts his own airline company. The fact that a guy walks in Blockbuster and he's pissed off with late fees, he's like, you know what?
Netflix.
I'm going to start Netflix, and then we have a guy.
Redbox. Redbox.
Then we have the guy who has Redbox. He's like, you know what? I'm just tired of getting in the car and driving all the way to Blockbuster when they can be conveniently at where I grocery shop, where I buy things, the simple things of this. I have a saying that I go by strongly. Anyone can make six figures by working hard. When I say six figures, that's 100,000, 200,000, 300, 400, 500 plus. Yeah. And anyone becomes a millionaire when they find a problem and a solution. Yeah. It is not until you see hundreds of millions of tens of millions until you create something impactful. And disruption. Disruption is very important, and I'm big on disruption. What can I do that's different? Blue ocean strategy. Where can I put myself at where I have no competitors? And if I do have competitors, how can I dissolve those competitors and make myself the new norm? Yeah. So what is the new norm of real estate? Well, my mediation financing system doesn't exist. What is the new norm of taxes? No one really knows what tax credits are. What is the new norm of lending? There's no software out there like our software that uses our proprietary algorithms to find consumers alternative lending products aside from the big box brands on a regional level, on a national level, and even on a local level with local CDFIs and POS financing and consumer financing lending products. Doesn't exist. Also something that upsells you into insurance and tax strategies to bring you more money. No program or portal like that exists. So, to answer the question, is like to keep going. It's like, I want an IPO. I want a ticker on NASDAQ. I don't want a merger acquisition. I don't want to be bought out. I want to go through we already went through our pre-seed. I want to go through Series A, Series B, Series, as far as I can go with my Series funding. And then I want an IPO, and go from there.
It's crazy. Our last guest, he works in tech. He's a senior in tech. He's a really young dude, but he's a senior in tech. And he has his own company outside. It's not a tech company, it's a retail, but it's doing really well here in Atlanta. And he was kind of saying the opposite. And we were talking about that, where he wants to he has a exit plan. So it's interesting hearing two people who are both business owners and successful, doing very well, but both have two entirely different goals, which I think is dope. I don't think there's a right or wrong in that. I just think it's pretty cool, just the timing of it. So dude, man, I love it so much. even like being in tech, I remember thinking like, okay, man, if I can just get $100,000, and then I got 100,000, and then I realized, okay, this really ain't that kind of money like I thought it was gonna be. Then I was thinking like, oh man, when I get to like 150, then I got to 150, and around the time I got to 150 is where I started to feel depressed, because it felt like, okay, this is just enough for me and to live life and to take care of my family, but it felt very boring. I was like, yo, this is boring. And I was like, yo, like there has to be like a purpose. There has to be something
it has
greater.
to be a deliverable. Everybody thinks that and it's so funny. It's like everybody tells me like, oh, you could just go book a flight and go to Miami or go to New York and take a break. Like that's normal now to me. Like, oh, well, just go shopping, do some retail therapy.
Eating out at all the nice restaurants got boring.
Exactly.
Really fast.
It's fun and interesting when it's a luxury.
Yeah.
But then when it becomes an everyday habit. When every other day habit is nothing special about it. Now you enjoy the home cooked meals. Now you enjoy the relaxation at the house. Yeah. Now you enjoy the space by yourself. So no, I understand 100%.
So man, you are amazing, dude. Like, bro, I'm so inspired by you. So hyped that you're my neighbor. So hyped that we're cool. Definitely looking forward to getting to know you more. But in the midst of you being a serial entrepreneur and you having this this tech startup that's now valued at $15 million, I definitely want to circle back around and talk about, okay, how did it get to $15 million? All of that stuff.
So and I'm glad you asked that, because I feel like, and that goes back to the things that God does put you through, like being in foster care, being in the homeless shelters. Like, okay, foster care allowed me to understand the value of stability. Like I've been in so many different homes, like literally 70 plus homes. Like I could not make it up. I've never had a high school experience, never went to prom, never had senior year. I don't know what that's like. Got a GED, so those things taught me like what it's like to sit in one spot and focus. And then moving to the next step, which is homelessness, what it's like to have security, and then having a job. This is crazy, but think about all the money that you have spent and I've spent so far. Even when you just gave me the idea of the setup and your rich, very famous videographer right here. When I'm like, yo, like, all right, I'm thinking like, oh, what's this, 25K? You're like, nah, 50K, nah. Well, damn. But no, the point is, it's like, also along with that understanding the job is like the amount of money we spend to teach ourselves. When working a job, I'm constantly hearing this stuff about don't do a 9 to 5, don't do a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Companies spend billions of dollars. Oh, I worked at Best Buy too when I was in college, but the fact that when I worked at Best Buy, when I worked at Family Dollar, and when I worked at Walmart, they spend billions of dollars to train you what you're going to go out and learn for yourself for your own business. So I took that idea and I'm like, okay, well, let me go back to onboarding, HR, payroll.
Wow.
Like the basic things that you learn when you get an SOP. When you sit at work and they give you that packet, how can I reverse engineer that into my business? Yes. Going through e-commerce, going through real estate, all of those things brought me back to tech and was like, well, how do you evaluate a real estate deal? Well, single family, you have to get the appraisal. It's based off the comps. It's based off, are you going to cash flow the house? Are you going to refi the house and live in it? Are you going to flip the house? Or multifamily, your NOI, your cap rates, your T12s, your insurances, and how does the taxes affect the area? Are there any comps? Are you forcing appreciation? Are you in a pre-gentrified area? People act like gentrification is a curse word, but all those things matter. So I was like, okay, well, what values do I take in a business? And it wasn't until I started, and this is before the WeWork, we crashed. I was reading about, what is his name again? Oh my gosh, the guy that started WeWork. He finessed everybody and made it think it was a tech company, but it was really just like shared space. Yeah, but anywho,
I remember that. Yeah.
The fact that I watched him and I'm like, oh my gosh, like where did he get he was like, oh, my company's worth $100 billion. And he literally sold the idea of a $100 billion company and people were buying into this. And I'm like, how do I sell the idea? Like, how do I even know what my company's worth? And when you walk around, you ask someone like how much is your media company worth? How much is your tech advising company worth? And most people go, well, I don't know, but I know how much I make a month. But how much is it worth? What is the valuation? Yeah. And some people go, well, I have a $5 million company. Well, where are you getting that number from? Yeah. And then I started learning about things like EBITDA, like EBITDA. General valuations, comps within business. Businesses have comps. Businesses have trends, and taking all of that data and all of those numbers and I put it into my business. And I got the valuation for my business, and based on our current cash flow, projected cash flow, and then the current private labels that we have now that use our software, we started off at a $7 million valuation and increased to 15. Then it took me back to my structures of how to set up a trust. Like you have your holdings company, and then you have the LLC under the holdings company, and then it holds the property or the assets. So you want control but no ownership. So I started thinking, well, why is a corporation more important than an LLC? We're now in this phase where black entrepreneurs are saying, go get an LLC, go get an LLC, get that G-Wagon and that $2,000 car, write it off.
Yeah.
Me writing off my cars was the worst thing I could have done in my life. It got me an audit.
Wow.
And it comes from how you're angled in. Now, I'm not giving professional tax advice, but I do say to seek a professional consultant on those things.
Yeah.
But we're in a day and age where everyone's like, they learn a little bit of information about credit. They learn a little bit of information and they want to go be an influencer, and they're misleading people. And I don't think people understand the true value of influence. But to go back to the point, I took those values and I said, well, how can I actually understand what my company is worth? So I brought it back around. I said, okay, well, my company, based on cash flow, based on projections, based on revenue, it's worth $7 million. Well, how can I make it worth $15 million? Well, my advisor, which is my current attorney now, which is my mentee, he's like, well, why won't you just do a corporation? Why should I do a corporation? Well, you have shares. And I went back to the book I read where Jeff Bezos borrowed against the shares and bought Whole Foods. So I'm like, no bank's going to give you money. He was like, everybody talks about business credit. Go get a business credit card, PG yourself. But no one talks about the real value of credit in business. Not business credit, but credit in business. How you can build shares in your company, build values in those shares. Let's say I have 11 million shares and they're all worth a third of a cent. But the more money I make, the more cash flow I make, and the more investors that I bring in, those shares go from a third of a cent to 5 cents to $2 to $5
That's
to $9. So I have 11 million shares right now within my company. They're all worth about 7 cents, which gives us our general valuation now. And if I can get, which sounds crazy, we want to get to $9 a share. You guys do the math. 9 times 11 million. That's the goal. $9 times 11 million. So if I can scale to $9 a share, then at that point I have enough value, but not even within the process. Well, I have a guy who's giving me, let's say, you say, well, yeah, bro, you know what? I want to give you $500,000. Well, my share value just went from 7 cents to whatever that may be. I can't calculate the shares off the top of my brain, but whatever that number may be. And then let's say your media guy says, you know what? I like how that sounds. Let me give you $1 million. Well, every time $1 is dispersed within my company, that valuation goes up more and more and more, those shares. So at that point, I can become a high value client at my local bank or at a local VC firm or a local CDFI, which is a community financial development institution. Those are very valuable in the tech industry, especially when you have a startup or even when you have a tech business or an accelerator. GAN.co. Shout out to them too.
I hope y'all are slowing this down, listening to
because I know I talk pretty fast.
On 0.75 and taking notes on everything you say, all the acronyms.
So accelerators are very valuable. Venture capitalists, when you start a business, people think, I need an investor, I need an angel investor. Those things aren't easy to come by. But creating a pitch deck, creating a white paper, if it's solely tech-based, or an introduction paper or a business plan, and then also having that valuation with proof of concept can give you more money than you ever needed. So that took me to come to a close on that question, but that took me to the idea of, okay, well, now I have shares. How do I bring value in those shares? And then that gave us the valuation as we took our cash flow. We got our value, our financial model specialist who created our valuation, and then we leveraged that. So we had the pitch deck, we had the white paper, we had the business plan, we had the proof of concept, we had the proof that the software worked, and then we had the patent. Of course, a patent on anything brings value. And then we had the provisional patent. At that point, it was easy. At that point, VC firms just throw money at you. At the point, accelerators, you win all the accelerator programs. At this point, I'm just going to tech events and shaking hands. Yeah. So, yes, $15 million is what we're evaluated at, and $100 million is the goal.
Man, and you definitely gonna get there. Definitely gonna get there, dude. So, man, I know there it's a variety of different people that are listening in and watching, and there's some people listening and watching and where they're like spot on with everything you're saying. They're like, okay, yep, this is good, sounds good to me. But then there are other people that are like, what in the world? Everything's all over the place. But they're still intrigued. They're still like, okay, I don't know half the stuff he's talking about. Man, I want to get there though. Like, what's a good starting point for someone? Let's say you could go back and talk to yourself the day you got fired. What would you say to yourself as a good starting point? Whether books you would recommend to get started, whether podcasts to listen to, whether, shows to watch, whatever that might be.
You can read all the books in the world. Oh my gosh. If one more person gets on Instagram and says, oh, my favorite book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh yeah, that John drives me crazy.
Oh my God. Or 48 Laws of Power. Like, no, bro. Like, books are okay. Books are guides. But you have those, like, for example, like a mechanic. You have the mechanic who's book smart, but has never touched a car in his life, but he can tell you everything about a car. And you have those guys Like some of my homeboys, you know what I'm saying, they lived in the projects their whole life. They learned just from just watching their granddad touching fixed cars.
Yeah, that's true.
And they can fix cars. So it's like, I feel like you can never lose with experience and a mentor. You could listen to all the podcasts in the world. You can read all the books, but until you reach out to the person who's leading that podcast, for example, they can listen to your podcast every day until they reach out and say, hey, Cyrus, you know your industry. You understand your industry. You know what it's like to make not only 6 figures, but you understand what it's like to scale 6 figures.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to listen to his podcast every day on the way to work, and I'm just going to manifest in a firm and walk outside with my shoes off and step in the grass and let the sun raise. Or, you know, I'm going to pray. Like, God gives us 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 hands, 2 feet, you know, and the opportunity is there. So you have to take it. So to simply answer that question, you need to just simply be able to understand what it's like to have a mentor. Yeah. And sometimes it's worth paying for that mentorship, not necessarily saying, no, make it make sense. But before you go and pay someone, understand what those general rules are. Like, for example, in e-commerce, people think, oh, he's showing screenshots of Shopify orders, and he's showing screenshots that he's making a lot of money, and he's traveling a lot. That means nothing. He has a credit card that's giving him points. He's probably manufacturer spending. He's probably doing ghost orders to close you on that. So what does it look like? Yeah. But like you said, no one even knows how to look for those things. Yeah, they don't. So you need to find that one mentor that's willing to work with you and guide you, but also having that value. And that goes back to opportunity costs and resources. You also have to ask yourself, what can I bring to the table? Yeah. Bro, think about it. There are probably 3 million people in your DM right now saying, yo, bro, I want to link with you. Let's go eat lunch.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh,
why am I eating? I'm not hungry.
It drives me crazy.
I'm not hungry.
They're like, I pay for lunch. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, I ate today. Like, why am I eating with you? Chris is a perfect example. I introduced you. And Chris, like, came at me and said straight up, like, yo, bro, I want to eat with you. I have this, this, and this. Yeah. And he spit numbers. He spit value. And then I saw his podcast. I'm like, you know what? This is worth. And then when I got there, we just went. He said, yo, bro, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to get straight to it. Let's jump into it. He's like, yeah, man, I want to understand what you've been through. And he let me spit out about my life. Then he says, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. Yeah. So he basically told me, shut up. I'm going to tell you about me. And he told me about him. And he says, all right. And he says, you know what? We're doing too much side talk. Let's get to it. And he opened up his computer and he was just blasting at it. And literally immediately after, I didn't even get in the car. I get the link for this, the link for that, the link for this, the link for that. I'm not going to spoil his, him. What he's doing. But y'all going to see, dude's a beast. But he's giving me the value right there. Immediately sitting with you. Like, you gave me immediate value right there. And I'm like, people need to understand that to answer your question, like, what can they do if they don't know, if they're starting at square one? Mm-hmm. Find someone in the realm that you want to be in. Find the basketball court that you want to be, and get on the bench. Everybody doesn't have to be the all-star. Yeah. There are people that sit on the bench that have $10, $12, $13 million contracts. Yep. There are people that sit on the bench that got endorsements with Nike and Under Armour and Adidas. We just never heard of them. Get on the bench first. But even then, if you got to be the water boy, that water boy is in every game. There's a difference between being the mascot and the water boy. The mascot has to, in a sense, be the ridicule, be the funny person, be the clown for everyone, be the entertainment. The water boy is the hard work. He's the one behind the scenes that's getting the dirty towels thrown on him, that's getting the water jugs thrown at him, that's getting yelled at by the coach, the players, and the mascot. He's getting yelled at by everybody from the lowest of the caste system to the highest of the caste system. Well, guess what? Well, that water boy gets to meet the photographers. He gets to meet ESPN. Yeah. He gets to meet the athletes. So using those values and bringing those resources in. Now, guess what? The water boy says, you know what? I ain't doing no water anymore. I want to get into PR. Well, guess what? He has everything he needs to become press release. Or I want to get into entertainment. Or I want to get into fashion and design. Well, you're getting to meet everything you need.
His network is crazy.
Networking. Yeah. So to answer that, understanding what it's like to be at the bottom and start from the bottom. And it's okay to be at the bottom. Yeah. It's okay to be that invalid. Nothing's wrong with being the outlier or the invalid. Because that invalid then becomes that valid person. So that's just what I would say. Find a mentor and find someone that can lead you in that area. And then from there, understand what that world is like. And then go into the realm of investing into yourself and investing into other programs.
So we got to wrap some. Dang, it's so much that I want us to talk about. So I'm going to try to blast through a few of these questions that we have. So you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. But with everything you do, what do you think about, do you believe people should value, like, do you think everyone should just try to go after an active, or I know people call it passive income, but go after, like, would you rather people go after, do you think people should go after an active income, or do you think that people should that there's still value in a 9-to-5? There's always value in a 9-to-5. You get benefits, you get guaranteed paychecks, you get consistent income. It's not about the money. Once again, that goes back to currency, time management, understanding how to structure and pay bills, being solid and consistent
So just to summarize, that consistency is important. Whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you're starting to becoming an entrepreneur, but you can never lose by working a job.
What do you think? So someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, they want to be an entrepreneur. Let's say they're working in a tech, or they're about to go into tech, or they're just working at some, I guess, regular job, regular company. What value do you think they should gain as a future entrepreneur that they should gain from their 9 to 5?
That job's already spending millions, if not billions of dollars to train you. Take that leverage and then understand how you can implement it to yourself, stabilize yourself, pay your bills. If you're living beyond your means, reserve those. If you're living below your means, then you just have to work hard. Yeah. I mean, that's just the world that we live in, and do the best that you can do. If you're working at a warehouse, at a plant facility, if you're working at a chocolate factory, if you're working, wherever they may be, at Amazon warehouse 12 hours a day, all you can do is work the hardest you can and understand that. I mean, there's no excuses. Everybody has their own trials and tribulations, but you just got to work hard. And yes, if you can work a 9 to 5, I don't care. Work a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I mean, you got people that's in the streets. I got homeboys, that sell drugs. I got homeboys that scam. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, the risk and the liability to that, it just ain't worth it.
Yeah, it's not.
So nothing's ever wrong with working a 9 to 5. And if anyone ever bashes you for working a 9 to 5, well, then those are just people you don't need to be around.
Yeah, big facts. I love it. So, are you hiring? And if you are, or if you're going to be hiring at some point soon, what kind of candidates or what kind of people are you looking for to bring on your team? UI
development, UX development, back-end developers, full stack developers, and then creative minds, people who are great at research and development, systems and development. It can be any type of system, just creative minds that understand the financing and the lending industry. So yeah.
2 more questions. Ria's gonna beat me up, but two more questions. So one, how did you? Well, you have a very impressive network. That was one of the things I saw when we first connected. And one of the things I've realized more and more is like, okay, like usually the higher you go up in terms of success and in terms of you making certain moves, naturally your network should be growing. And your network is at a place where I'm like, all right, I can see I'm a couple steps behind you in terms of my network. Bro, educate me, educate the audience. Like, how did you build out your network?
This is going to sound pretty messed up and narcissistic, I guess. 'Cause that's 2022.
Hey, let's be real. Word. Yeah, that's the buzzword.
Yeah, and everybody's a narcissist.
Everybody's a narcissist.
Or self-centered, that's a better word, or conceited. Don't surround yourselves with people who are where you want to be.
Yeah. Not
with people that are where you are and that have come from where you have already grown from.
Yes.
That's the only way you're going to grow. How can I, now keeping the people around that are already where you are, yes. Not saying exclude yourself from them, but also making sure you're putting yourself in the room with people who are already successful and proficient in whatever realm you want to be in. So yes, to answer that question, you can never lose by saying, okay, well, damn, this guy makes this guy makes that. And put your pride to the side and say, well, how can I get in the room?
Yeah.
Once again, be that water boy and get in the room. Be the fly on the wall. And then from there, grow yourself from there. So
I'm going to say something that's so wild. I shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, we got a lot of neighbors here in this building. It's a lot of cool people here doing some cool things. And surprisingly, it's a lot of people that are here that I'm like, you should not be living here. Meaning, like, they're struggling to pay and to
because they want to live somewhere and have an idea of what their life should be like instead of sitting down and just focusing and honing in. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, and what I've noticed is that really quickly I had to start realizing, okay, Cyrus, just because everybody is here, there are still people here that are lazy. There are still people here that aren't productive. There are still people here that don't have a mission. And I was able to differentiate people, and really quickly was able to differentiate you, and was like, he's one of those people where, like you mentioned, being selfish, where he's one of those people where my time isn't being wasted being around him, whether I'm going to be motivated, whether we can collaborate on something, even if like, okay, we kicking back and chilling and just kind of shooting the breeze or whatever, value. It's like there's still value and there's still like things that can be gleaned and stuff like that. So just wanted to say that about you, and also say that for people, listening to realize the value of that in terms of what he's saying. All right, last question. So, all right, man. So where can listeners find you at? And what is your message to everybody listening, everybody watching?
Instagram, who is Rich Porter? Who is Rich Porter? No underscores, no dots, no extra I. It's clean just like that.
Who is Rich Porter?
And then Facebook, Tori Porter. I really don't use my Twitter or my TikTok, so it's really not important. So yeah, those two, they can find me there. And the message is just like, if you can involve your business strategy, no matter, I don't care if you're like a nail tech, a lash tech, like I'm just going to think about those like general crab in a bucket, or you want to have a boutique, an online boutique, you can never lose with like involving something tech based or some type of tech structure in your business. And if it wasn't for tech, yes, I make good money, yes, but I would never be looking at 8, 9, 10 figure outcomes of my business without tech. It just wouldn't.
Man, that's so good, dude, man. Thank you so much for being on. Look, y'all, thank y'all for everybody who's tuned into this episode of Tech is the New Black. Listen, y'all, please let us know in the comments like what it is you want us to do next. Let us know what you want us to work on, because we want to make sure this platform is tailored to you, because at the end of the day, this is about you. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, you enjoy our content, let us know by, of course, leaving a like, subscribing, all that good stuff. You know, you got to feed the almighty social media algorithm in order for things to grow, and so that other people can be exposed to what it is that we're doing and then be impacted as well. Other than that, we'll see y'all on the next episode.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.